Okay, so let's dive into marketing for some of the most complex, high-stakes industries out there. We're talking about fields like healthcare and finance, where the buyers are incredibly cautious, deeply informed, and just really aware of any risks. So how in the world do you even begin to reach them?
And that really gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? This is the central question we're tackling today. How do you market to an audience that's actively looking for valuable information, but throws up a wall the second they sniff out a sales pitch? It's a huge challenge, for sure, but there's a solution that's surprisingly effective.
So before we can really appreciate the solution, we have to get a handle on the problem itself. You see, marketing in these niche industries isn't just a harder version of regular B2B marketing. It's a completely different ballgame with its own set of rules. Right off the bat, there's basically zero margin for error. Unlike broad markets where you can kind of cast a wide net and still catch a few fish, here you're dealing with much smaller audiences and super specialized roles. Your standard tactics, things like SEO and email blasts, they just don't work as well because the search volume is tiny and everybody's inbox is already bursting at the seams.
Okay, so if the old methods are a dead end, what's the answer? Well, this is where content syndication comes into play. To put it simply, it's all about partnering up with trusted publications and platforms, places your audience already knows and respects, to get your expert content right in front of them. The goal isn't to interrupt their day, it's to become a valuable part of the conversation they're already having.
This quote just nails the strategic shift. Instead of shouting into the void and just hoping a buyer hears you, syndication lets you place your valuable educational content directly on the professional networks and industry publications they're already visiting every day for information. You're meeting them on their turf. And the mechanics of it are actually pretty simple. A brand creates something genuinely useful, like a deep dive research report. Then a partner promotes it to a very, very specific audience. If a professional is interested, they opt in to get it, and voila, the brand gets that contact info. It sounds simple, but the real magic is all in the execution.
And that's the crucial part. This isn't about just blasting your content everywhere. Success in fields like healthcare and finance is all about precision. The audience pools are smaller, the job titles are hyper-specific, and the content itself has to be genuinely educational. It can't just be a thinly veiled product pitch. It has to actually earn their attention. All right, now that we've covered the what and the why, let's get into the how. And a great way to do this is by looking at two of the most complex niches side by side. Because while both healthcare and finance run on trust, the specific playbooks for each are actually quite different. Think of this table as our strategic map. Just look at the differences here. In healthcare, you've got this consensus-driven buying process that involves everyone from clinicians to administrators, so the content has to be evidence-based and pretty cautious. Now, flip over to finance. You're talking to risk-averse leaders, so your content has to be analytical, strategic, and authoritative. Let's make this even more concrete. And this all makes perfect sense when you see the kind of content that actually works. Think about it. A hospital administrator who's evaluating new software isn't going to be swayed by a flashy ad. But a case study from a peer showing how a similar hospital cut their administrative overhead by 20%, now that gets their attention. Same thing on the finance side. A chief risk officer might ignore a sales email, but a detailed analysis of how new SEC rules will impact their portfolio, that's not marketing anymore. That's essential weeding. I absolutely love this point. So many marketers see regulations like HIPAA as just a barrier, another hurdle to jump over. But in this world, embracing compliance, being totally upfront about data use, making sure your claims are accurate, that's how you build credibility. It actually reduces friction down the line because you've already laid that foundation of trust. Okay, so we've talked strategy. Now let's get down to the universal principles that can make or break a campaign in any of these niche markets. This is where the execution really becomes critical. In niche syndication, segmentation isn't just some nice-to-have feature. It's an absolute prerequisite. You have to get this right. Are you targeting a CIO at a huge hospital system, or are you talking to a compliance officer at a smaller regional bank? Each one needs a totally different message and a different piece of content. That precision is everything. So you see this number? This represents the old way of thinking. For years, marketing success was all about generating the biggest possible list of leads. But in these specialized industries, a giant list of irrelevant contacts isn't just useless, it's expensive, and it completely distracts your sales team. So, we shift our focus to a metric that looks more like this. Instead of asking, how many leads did we get? The real question is, how much qualified sales pipeline do we actually influence? It's all about quality over quantity. A small group of really well-qualified leads will beat a massive untargeted list every single time. And of course, here are the traps that can sink all that hard work. The biggest ones are creating content that just feels like an ad, not getting the compliance part right, and this is a big one, thinking of syndication as a one-off campaign. It's a long-term strategy, not a short-term tactic. And that brings us to our final section, and really the most important takeaway of all. When you do this right, content syndication stops being just a tool to get leads. It becomes a powerful, long-term strategic asset for your entire organization. Because at the end of the day, it's not really about leads. It's about this. In markets that are defined by skepticism and really high stakes, trust is the single most valuable currency you can possibly earn. Every other metric flows from it. So, how does it actually build that trust? Well, for starters, it delivers real value up front before asking for anything in return. It shows up in places your audience already knows and trusts. It respects their intelligence by being educational, not promotional. And over time, it consistently reinforces your brand as a credible expert in the fields. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? This isn't just about hitting a number for the quarter. This is about building a sustainable competitive advantage in markets where the winners are always decided by who is trusted the most. So I'll leave you with this one final thought to chew on. Take a hard look at your own marketing efforts. Are they just designed to collect names for a database, or are they fundamentally built to create lasting trust with an audience that absolutely demands it? The answer to that question, well, it could change everything.